a moment. A couple of announcements is one, Sherlock Holmes. We have a shoe mystery. I have Exhibit A. These shoes belong to someone who doesn't want them because they want their own back. So, well, I mean, this happens in Zen worlds. It keeps us on our toes. Could you all please just check your shoes and can
you hold them up? I didn't get to see them.
Oh, they're cool shoes. I actually like them. No, they're cool. They're black. They're black clogs. So.
And what kind did the person go home with?
I know.
Well, the person is right here. Shall I say?
Just say the name of the shoe.
It's a Skechers Step In, black, size 9, brand new.
Okay, you got it? Everybody, this is your job. This is Bodhisattvas. Go find those Skechers size 9 black new shoes.
Please.
Make somebody really happy.
Yeah, it was Tuesday morning.
Yeah, okay. Or Thursday.
Thursday, I'm sorry.
Yeah, so it may be a different.
I was the last to leave, and those were the only shoes left.
Yeah. Zen mystery. Everybody, please. We know that it's amazing how time passes. We are completely in this practice period, in this moment. Practice period partners, intentions, just keep coming back for yourself, for the whole world. And there will be a retreat at the end, as there always is, a Buddha's Enlightenment retreat, and ceremonies at the end. But please, it's a wonderful thing to do with your life. It's to come to a retreat and sit down and stand up and practice together. And each person will find what's right for yourself, but please consider it. And I think, having said that,
And there's chanting on Wednesday, I believe.
Oh, and there's chanting, that's right. And yes, and there's going to be a chanting group on Wednesday, which is tomorrow morning, starting at 10, right? Yep. Okay, so
Zoom Zendo link if folks want to zoom in.
Say again.
We will be on the Zoom Zendo link, the same link you used to get this meeting. If you want to just zoom.
Great. Okay, we could only sort of hear. I mean, we heard you, but just in. So I'm not sure what's going on. But anyway, Zoom link. You can do it. Okay. Oh, I had this thought before we went on, because it's kind of cold out, and I've been noticing some people are feeling kind of tender. Maybe all of us are feeling tender at one time or another. Could you take your round arms and hug yourself? Shuso just let out a deep breath.
Shuso needed a hug.
Yeah, good. Okay. Okay, everybody. Here we go.
Here we go. Who knows what's going to happen?
Who knows? But you got a hug, so everything's fine.
Hi, everybody.
Hi.
Thank you for being here, and hello to everybody online. Nice to see that there's so many people.
Everybody hearing okay? A little louder. Think a little louder.
I'm going to start with something that I had completely not planned to start with, but it's a koan by Zen Master Linji. I've been working with this koan for, I don't know, about 15 years, and it is something that grounds me and enlightens me, not enlightens, enlivens me. And I just feels right for the moment. So it's called Solitary Brightness. There is a solitary brightness without fixed shape or form. It knows how to listen to the Dharma. It knows how to understand the Dharma. It knows how to teach the Dharma. That solitary brightness is you.
Would you repeat it?
Yeah,
please?
please.
I would.
Thank you.
Solitary brightness. There is a solitary brightness without fixed shape or form. It knows how to listen to the Dharma. It knows how to understand the Dharma. It knows how to teach the Dharma. That solitary brightness is you. Says I should join audio, but I should not.
No.
Darling. I'm gonna click, don't ever send this again. So I think things are gonna get a little jumbled around. I'm feeling a little jumbled. I didn't think I was feeling tender until all of a sudden I was, but I'm feeling more grounded now, sitting and just kind of making contact and feeling the holding that I feel here. So thank you. So we're at the 7th round. Only 10. So we're getting there.
Are we enlightened yet?
And this ground is called the far-reaching ground, the Ramagama. And it is correlated with the perfection of skillful means, which is we know as upaya prakota. And again, interestingly, well, I don't know. It's like for me in this process, 1 minute there's some clarity, and then like poof, it's just gone. So we'll see what comes through. I'm going to start with some just descriptions of what about this stage. And so in this 7th stage, and this will come through in the chanting, which we're not all going to do together tonight. I'm going to regale you. So you're going to hear a lot of my voice today. In this stage, the Bodhisattva transcends ordinary beings by proceeding afar from the self and habitual karma to work for the liberation of others. Feels like a really fitting thing to talk about in this group because there's so many of us who are, I think, suffering ourselves either directly or vicariously through the suffering of the world and our neighbors right now, and wondering or grappling with how to respond. So this is about responding with skillful means. It's characterized, this stage, by the development of skillful means and deep insight into the ultimate truth. So they're paired. That's important. Key aspects of this stage. One is transcendence. The Bodhisattva has by now risen above the limitations of the 2 vehicles, which I think is a term for other kinds of Buddhist paths, and is moving beyond self-concern to focus on the liberation of all beings. Skillful means, which is the state that this stage involves the development of upaya paramita, or the perfection of skillful means to effectively help others. On this ground, there is purified understanding. So the Buddha's faith is purified by overcoming mental defilements, leading to clearer understanding of the ultimate truth. And then there's what's called the far-going journey, which I like the name of. And it reflects a journey that goes beyond the ordinary limited perspectives and habitual ways of thinking and acting. So it's the ending of a certain kind of development that was in the first 6 stages and is now focusing on skillful means to help others. Skillful means is a Sanskrit word. I'm sorry. Upaya is a Sanskrit word that means either skillful means or expedient means, and also seems to be translated as the craft of compassion. So it's the application of wisdom. It's not just the knowing of truth, but about how to apply it compassionately and effectively. It's used often in terms of spiritual teachers and practitioners, in terms of adapting their methods and teachings and approaches to suit the specific needs and circumstances to benefit in particular situations or particular people who we all come with different capacities, different needs, different ways of learning, emotional intelligences, etc., love languages, whatever it is. And it's something that we've heard, I think, many times, that the Buddha recognized the different capacities of different beings. I found this really interesting. There's so many things that I read that say this was the Buddha's first teaching. Turns out, from what I'm also gathering, is that all the teachings aren't the same, but they're actually meant as portals or entryways for different people, depending upon maybe how they learn or how they can respond or just where they are in their own development. And so this notion that I think is quite believable from our studying of the Avatamsaka Sutra is that, which we're learning here now is the first teaching, is that Buddha's first teaching was destabilizing. And this term came to me, I can't fathom why, but there's this thing called the perennial philosophy. Some of you may know what that, like there's this, that in all traditions, there's sort of this real commonality. And in perennial philosophy, there's this concept or this idea of what's called the vertigo of eternity, which I think is fabulous. And it may be some of what some of us have been experiencing and like just reading the sutra or chanting it, and we're trying to understand it. But I think some of the discomfort is also this sort of sense of the vertigo of eternity, that there's something overwhelming about awe and the existential, I guess, angst that can come from pondering or maybe having a momentary experience of the vastness of time and eternity. For some, like it can actually feel there be some dread there, some deep loneliness. And I think that's probably why there's such a terror and taboo of talking about death in our culture. So Buddha then, or Buddha's disciples, I think, started to come up with ways, probably first consolidating. This is my understanding, these are not facts. Consolidating the untold numbers of kalpas, of millions of oceans of Buddhas into the Buddha. And then there being the Four Noble Truths and the Eightfold Paths and the Paramitas. And what I'm coming to see in this sutra and I think you'll see it in the chanting in a bit, is that they really are all the same. Because each of the paramitas holds all the paramitas, there's everything in the Four Noble Truths. There's everything in every teaching. And so let's see. Connolly, in the book that we've been using somewhere, there's actually write down what that was. One of the lines in the poem that we've been chanting, let me see if I have it here, from the seal of the Huayan One Vehicle Dharma. One of the lines is, all beings benefit according to their capacities. And I'm thinking that's talking about skillful means. And so Connolly in that piece talks about, again, how different teachings are appropriate for different people, and that there is a progression, which I don't know. I mean, in what I think of as a short term of practice, I can notice some many projection, and some progression. It's great. I'm tired, and whatever's coming out is absolutely the right thing, isn't it? So he mentions in the last chapter of the Avatamsaka Sutra, which we're not studying, but we've heard about it. Chris has talked about it a little. There's Sudana, the pilgrim, who goes from one teacher to the next, to the next, to the next, to the next. And some of them are great teachers, and some of them are just regular people, but everybody is Sudana's teacher. And so by the end of this chapter, he has observed all manners of practice, and he bows to them all. And I just think that there's something really profound about that. We've come to understand, I think, that we've talked about difficult people, or people that we find difficult. The nice way of saying it. Are our teachers. Lots of situations are our teachers. But then he bows to them all. Like they're all teaching, and I think ultimately they're probably all teaching us the same thing, which is to go to a place of compassion. This other quote that just struck me, probably for obvious reasons, but it's, since illnesses are manifold, the medicines given are not one. I think that's just another interesting way of thinking about that. Thich Nhat Hanh teaches about upaya, and it's sort of the basis of his socially engaged Buddhism. And he really integrates it with the paramitas, with the perfections, as the practice of applying wisdom in a compassionate and appropriate way, the specific context of the situation. And that while he says the traditional 6 paramitas of generosity, discipline, patience, energy, meditation, and wisdom, those are the traditional ones that in the Mahayana tradition, which we're in and which Thich Nhat Hanh draws from, often add the paramita of upaya to help apply all of these virtues to the benefit of others. So it's inclusive of all the other paramitas and virtues. I think I will skip over this. This felt important to me in Thich Nhat Hanh's writing. He's saying that in temples in Vietnam, there's often 2 figures outside the temple. And on the left is a statue of a very gentle bodhisattva, smiling, welcoming, inviting in. And on the right is a figure with a very fierce expression, brandishing a weapon. And he says it's called the burning face Buddha. And this is the archetype of the fierce guardian bodhisattva, the one who has the capacity to keep the hungry ghosts in check. And he talks about this sort of need for ferocity to help establish order, because only they can tame the the hungry ghosts. It feels important to bring that up, because I think many of us are struggling with this sense of the need to be fierce and to say no, that's not okay, and to take certain actions, and wondering like how that fits in with our practice. And so I just really wanted to add that into that skillful means can include ferocity and that kind of passionate, like that it's okay to say no, and to get in the way of something that somebody that needs to be protected. So something else I've been sitting with, I think, out of all of this, and then this brings me back to the Norman Fisher Imagination book, which I'm not going to talk about tonight, but just this question that I'm thinking of, that I've been holding, that I'm wondering if we can all hold as a Sangha, which is, how do we create the world we want to live in?
How what?
How can we create the world we want to live in? I have a poem I want to share, surprisingly. But first, I actually want to just read this letter. This morning, I was really feeling like, gee, I don't really know, kind of blank.
Mm.
And then in the mail comes this letter, the year-end letter from San Francisco Zen Center. Dear Sangha, the world today is in constant flux, offering up complex and troubling challenges on a daily basis. Finding the stability we need to respond appropriately requires a thoughtful yet nimble stance, one that is rooted in wisdom and compassion rather than rigid formulas. In Buddhism, this is called upaya, or skillful means. In his famous haiku, the Japanese poet Matsuo Basho points to the spirit of upaya. An old pond, a frog jumps in, the sound of water. In just a few words, he captures the immediacy of meeting the present moment. From utter stillness to great action, appropriate action, skillful action. Like the frog's sudden leap, splash, we too are called to enter life fully, ready in an instant to meet our collective challenges with steadiness and care. How do we discern what each moment is asking of us? How can we develop an inner voice that is clear enough to trust? Through our practice of Zazen, mindful awareness, and Sangha relationships, we develop a resiliency that fosters skillful means as our foundational stance. We learn that compassion is not always gentle. It can call for fierce clarity and the willingness to take a stand. We discover that in other moments, wisdom can express itself through quiet, humble service, or knowing when it's time to rest. Oh, thank you. Thank you. I'm not finished. I was just thanking San Francisco Zen Center.
Was that from the Abbots who wrote that?
Yeah,
No, who signed it?
all of them.
All of them. Good,
Yeah,
good for them.
good for them. All of them. I might need some help with the time. There's a bit of chanting that I'd like to read from the seventh ground, so if we can experience that. And I do have this poem that I wanted to share, but I could also not do that. And do we want to break into small groups? So that's a whole lot of questions. I'm going to start with the poem.
Great.
Good. It's by Jane Hirschfield, who is a Buddhist. It's called Counting. This New Year's morning, what powers yet remain to me? The world asks, as it asks daily, and what can you make, can you do to change my deep broken, fractured? I count on this first day of another year what remains. I have a mountain, a kitchen, 2 hands. Can admire with 2 eyes the mountain, actual, recalcitrant, shuffling its pebbles, sheltering foxes and beetles. Can make black-eyed peas and collards, can make from last year's late ripening persimmons a pudding. Can climb a step ladder, change the bulb in a track light. For 4 years, I woke each day first to the mountain, then to the question. The feet of the new sufferings follow the feet of the old, and still they surprised. I brought salt, brought oil to the question, brought sweet tea, brought postcards and stamps. For 4 years, each day, something. Stone did not become apple, war did not become peace, yet joy still stayed joy. Sequins stayed sequins, words still bespangle, bewilder. Today I woke without answer. The day answers, unpockets a thought from a friend. Don't despair of this falling world. Not yet. Didn't it give you the asking? Good. So, how about if I chant for 5 minutes and we can do small groups? The seventh ground, the far-reaching ground. Vajragarbha commences the seventh ground's explanation. At that time, Vajragarbha Bodhisattva addressed Liberation Moon Bodhisattva, saying, O child of the Buddha, the Bodhisattva Mahasattva, who has already completed the sixth ground's practices and then aspires to gain entry into the seventh ground, the far-reaching ground, should proceed in the cultivation of 10 kinds of skillful means and wisdom, thereby bringing forth the most especially supreme path. What then are those 10? Specifically, they are, although they have skillfully cultivated the emptiness, signlessness, and wishlessness samadhis through the practice of kindness and compassion, they refrain from forsaking beings. Although they have acquired the Buddha's dharma of uniform equality, they still delight in always making offerings to Buddhas. Although they have entered the gateway to wisdom of emptiness contemplation, they still diligently pursue the accumulation of merit. Although they have become attached from the three realms of existence, they still engage in the adornment of the three realms of existence. Although they have achieved the final extinguishing of the flames of all afflictions, they are still able, for the sake of all beings, to bring forth the means to extinguish the flames of their greed, hatred, and delusion. Although they realize that all dharmas are like conjurations, like dreams, like shadows, like echoes, like mirages, like transformations, like the moon reflected on water, and like images in a mirror. And realize too that in their essential nature they are non-dual, they still accord with their resolve by performing works of countless different sorts. Although they realize that by their very nature all lands are like empty space, they are still able to use pure and sublime practices to adorn the Buddha lands. Although they still realize that the fundamental nature of all Buddhas' Dharma body is free of any body, they still adorn their own body with the major marks and subsidiary signs. Although they realize that by its very nature, the voice of all Buddhas is empty and inherent existence, quiescent and ineffable, they are still able to accord with all beings by bringing forth for them many different sorts of pure voices. And although they accord with all Buddha's complete fathoming of the three periods of time as reducible to but a single thought, they still accord with different beings' minds and understandings by manifesting many different sorts of appearances, many different temporal circumstances, and many different sorts of kalpas wherein they cultivate all practices. I'm going to skip way down. Bodhisattva's aspiration to serve all beings. They also have this thought, I should become one who serves these beings as a leader, as one who is supreme, and so forth, until we come to as one who relies on the cognition of all knowledge. So on the seventh ground, merit from the Bodhi practices becomes full, and all the different types of great vows become perfectly complete. It is because of this that one is able to cause everything one does on the eighth ground to become entirely pure. This ground is difficult to traverse. With wisdom, one steps beyond. This is analogous to going between two worlds and also like a sage's degree of freedom from defiling attachment, for it does not yet qualify as totally stepping beyond it. Their practice of skillful means and wisdom and perfection of qualities are such that no one in the entire world can completely fathom. By offering to many Buddhas and their minds growing radiance, they become like gold that has been adorned with marvelous gems. This is the Bodhisattva's far-reaching ground, the path of purification of skillful means and wisdom. It is such that no deva, human, Sravaka disciple, or Pratyeka Buddha anywhere in the world would be able to comprehend it. I think there's time to
Yeah. Yeah.
do some maybe groups of three.
We're only going to have about 10 minutes, so people will,
That would choose be better, so there's a little more time.
might be
Yeah,
the short
okay.
amount of time.
Let's just do pairs. And I think, focus wise in this small group, anything that has touched you, moved you, you connected with. And this question of how do we create the world we want to live in?
Question.
How do we create the world we want to live in?
Okay.